They have Paul Riley at fullback, then Mark Calderwood, Kirk Yeeman, Ben Westwood and Lee Greenwood. John Wilkins the standoff alongside Salford-bound Luke Robinson. And the forwards, Ewan Dowes. Rob Burrow will wear 14, but he will operate as hooker for Wayne Godwin, who's gone down sick. Andy Lynch completes the front row. Rob Parker is the captain alongside Andy Coley in the second row. And Jamie Langley, look out for a new look, I'm told today, for Jamie Langley. Jamie Langley of Bradford Bulls will be the loose forward. And on the bench, it's Richard Whiting, Earl Crabtree, Sean Briscoe and Nick Scruton. The coach is Carl Harrison. Now the Irish Wolfhounds, it's Stuart Littler at full-back, Carl Deshenu, Martin McLaughlin, Lee Doran and Ian Dowling. It's Carl Fitzpatrick and Patrick Weissner, the drop goal expert. The forwards, David Bates, Phil Cantillon, who is the captain and hooker, Barry McDermott, Matt McConnell, Jed Corcoran and Tommy Gallagher. And the bench for Ireland is occupied by John Gallagher, Paul Darley, Declan Foy and Paul Southern. The coach, as we've seen, is Darryl Powell. The Halliwell Jones Stadium here in Warrington, staging its first international, and the presentation party, led by Richard Lewis, who's chairman of the Rugby League European Federation, Gary Hetherington, who is president of the Rugby Football League, and Dave Southern, who is chairman of the Ireland Rugby League. And there is Max, the Irish Wolfhound, the mascot. Looks like he's got a biscuit or something. Having a little pre-match snack anyway, is Max. And there's the Irish team, and Barry McDermott and company all hoping that this will be the moment for them. Right, next voices you will hear will be our commentators. Phil Clark and Brian Carney is going into the commentary box as well, and he will join Bill Arthur after the national anthem.
Great turnout here at the Halliwell-Jones Stadium. Just last year for the European Nations final against France, there was probably a couple of thousand at Wilderspool, but for this one, it's a pretty good turnout, I have to say, and it's a big game for Richard Frileur, the referee from France. Biggest game probably of his career, and doesn't speak an awful lot of English, but he's had a pretty intensive briefing with his fellow officials and knows what this one is all about. And one of a crop of good referees in France coming through. Richard Frileur ready to get this one underway. It's the Irish kicking off, and expect, I think, a fiery start from the boys in green, because they know that they're going to have to really let England know that they're here.
It is difficult, isn't it, for the English side here? When you're so heavily fancied to win a game, it can be hard to live for it. But all of them have clearly got a goal. You heard Carl Harrison, the coach, talk before the game about the 2008 World Cup. But probably before that, it's important that they play well here today. Each will have set individual goals for this game, and they want to achieve most of them.
Rob Burrow winning that late call-up because of the illness of Wayne Godwin. Wayne Godwin will be a big miss, having contributed so much already to England in this European Nations campaign. And already England showing their intention to really try and keep this ball alive. And Ireland are going to have to work very hard in the opening minutes here. Here's John Wilkin, rare outing for him at standoff. 21 last week, John Wilkin was the Saints player.
Just look at Luke Robinson again there, a feature of the second half of the season when he played at Wigan. The speed with which he takes their fellow defenders down, it's trapped Ireland down close to their own line immediately and given Stuart Littler and his teammates a tough start in possession.
Littler, one of the few Irish players out there with Super League experience. Obviously, as has been mentioned, their opposite numbers are experienced at the highest level right across the park. Not so in this Irish side. There's another one, Fitzpatrick, but outside him, they are green in every sense, not just the shirts.
But enterprising play, Bill, don't you think? They're shifting the ball, they've managed to find a bit of space, and they've made some metres on the back of that. Now going back to the middle. Pretty good start there as Bates now tries to get them up to the 40-metre line. Fifth tackle. What's their kicking game like? That'll be an important facet for them today.
It was Pat Weisner who got that ball away. Well, they'll be happy with that. Their first set in possession, maybe.
Yes, they completed it. Maybe they want a bit more distance on the kick, because already on the second tackle, Riley takes England up over the halfway line.
Paul Riley preferred to Sean Briscoe in the full-back position by England coach Carl Harrison. Now here goes Ewan Dowes, one of the whole representatives in this England side. Luke Robinson now be plying his trade at Salford next season, and there's the England captain, Rob Parker. Now here is Andy Lynch. That's the fifth tackle. And Robinson will just hoist this one to the corner, putting Carl de Chenou under a little bit of pressure, but Little is there well. Dealt with that one well, Stuart Littler.
Well, his fellow Salford teammate there, Andy Coley, came through to hit him as he took possession, trapping him in goal, but it will be a kick. Perhaps should have been a goal line dropout as he left from the field of play and landed in the in-goal area, but a bit of Irish luck there, and they needed that decision.
Matt McConnell driving that ball up, and he's knocked on as the Australian, who had a brief outing with Barrow at the end of last season, and that is, oh dear, a bad mistake from 21-year-old Matt McConnell.
Great opportunity now to attack from a scrum here for England. Perfect position, they've got pace out wide. Can they find the right players in the right holes?
Wilkin. Yeaman. Richard Frileur communicating well with the Irish players. Jamie Langley, that new look that Eddie was talking about, is a short back and sides for the Bradford Bulls loose forward. Wilkin. Good defence by the Irish there. Phil Cantillon and David Bates with the defence, but great opportunity here for Luke Robinson. Now here's the skipper Parker trying to use his strength to force his way over. Four Irish players are in there to stop him in his tracks. On the line, says Richard Frileur. The ball is back with Riley, and Riley will get through. He's not going to get that ball down, or is he?
No, held up on the last tackle. This will be a turnover.
That's good defence from the Irish.
That's great defence, isn't it, there? Ian Dowling does well to heap the ball up from the field of play.
Well, this is where the language barrier is proving a bit of a problem.
Well, he was indicating 5, wasn't he? But I think maybe he meant 6, and it was the turnover.
Well, it's the Irish who have possession. I think the players a bit bewildered by that little passage of play. Here's Tommy Gallagher for the Irish. So that was a let-off certainly for Ireland, because poor Riley was over the line but couldn't get that ball down. Here's Stuart Littler as Ireland look for a kick.
Oh, that's
from
great
Pat
pressure,
Weissner,
though. Oh,
and they're running it. Lee Doran puts the kick in, and Riley has to climb to collect that ball. Well, that was enterprising from the Irish, very nearly came off. Well, let's go down to the sidelines and hear from Chris Warren just how these officials are communicating, if they are. Chris.
Well, they're certainly doing their best, aren't they? But I can confirm that referee Richard Frillieu, he word of English, so there may well be some confusion throughout this match. They have, or were searching desperately for a translator before kick-off. They have found one, so let's hope things go according to plan.
Trouble is they need the translator out on the pitch, not on the sidelines. Here comes Coley for the English side. Ireland have beaten England this year, albeit at amateur level in the amateur home internationals. First win against England at any level for the Irish. Or Littler. Okay, says the referee. Well, we can get that one. The ball going backwards. And Ireland again bringing the ball out of defence. And Brian, they're coping all right so far, the Irish.
Yeah, it's a very good start by Ireland. This is what they want to do. They just need to complete their sets and get to the kick. I've been very impressed with them getting out of their own half. They've had a few good dummy half runs, and you'll probably look to somebody like Phil Cantillon to get them on the front foot like he's going to go now.
Cantillon and Marty McLaughlin now. McLaughlin being called into the starting lineup for Ireland because of Chris May's injury, the Swinton centre being forced to drop out at the last minute, and McLaughlin asked to play in the centre, a position he's not particularly familiar with. But Ireland again attacking down their left-hand side. Off they go with Ian Dowling, and Dowling losing that ball. It's picked up by Riley.
I don't think he was aware it was the last tackle. It's a shame, because Ireland, the first time they'd got themselves into a good position inside the England half.
Dowling, the Kilkenny Wildcat, one of 4 Irish-born players in this starting line, in this Irish 17, I should say, and then England get the penalty there. Tommy Gallagher penalised. Just trying to slow things down as Coley was trying to get to his feet to play that ball. Now a great opportunity for England to try and get the first points on the board here. Wilkin. Burrow. Scampering away, Rob Burrow, grand final winner, of course, with the Leeds Rhinos. Former teammate Ewan Dowes is in there. Wilkin again. Lynch. Strength from Andy Lynch, taking him very close to that Ireland line. Robinson doing well to scoop that ball up, and he's wrong-footed the Irish defence, and this time Riley will score. Denied last time, and the gap opened up in the Irish defence, and poor Riley of the Huddersfield Giants gets the first try, and Darryl Powell disappointed to see how easy it was for Paul Riley to go through there.
I think with the players that England have on show, if they can get close to within 10 metres of the Irish line, they will find a way of getting over it. Previously it was held up, this time not. Step back on the inside, good little shimmy, he just sucks in the 2 defenders, and Paul Riley, very intelligent, runs into the hole created by Luke Robinson. Just short pass off his shoulder, just steps, brings one guy into him. Wiser it is, he runs into the gap, and you won't stop Paul Riley from that distance. Superb start for England.
Riley called into the England squad last week, and as I said, preferred to Sean Briscoe, and full-back is a position where Britain is blessed with talent. From this squad, you've got Paul Wellens acquitting himself superbly for Great Britain at the moment, and here Paul Riley and Sean Briscoe on the bench. Rob Burrow. Just to the right of the post, but no problem from that range for Rob Burrow, and England into a 6-0 lead.
I think some of the credit probably deserved to go to Andy Lynch there. A very strong, powerful run, sucked in so many defenders that you knew all of a sudden Ireland were going to be scrambling out wide, and they couldn't recover into the right positions. Great exploitation by Robinson and Riley for the first try.
Here's Andy Lynch now. And Lynch has gone without the ball there. He went backwards.
It was a big hit from McLaughlin, wasn't it?
It was. He really put the shoulder in there.
Fortunately for England, it fell to an English player. This is what Riley does very well. Gets you that 8 to 10 metres there from that dummy half run. That's so important if you can get a backline player to get in there and do that from your own half.
Here's Langley now. Just shy of that halfway line. Burrow. And here's Lynch once more. Cantillon with the tackle. It's in there. So too is Barry McDermott. He was at a book signing yesterday. Of course, he's just launched his own book.
What about that kick? Luke Robinson's kick there on the fourth tackle. Perhaps one before the Irish side had expected it. And the quality, firstly, of the kick, but then the chase to trap Stuart Littlering. Set after scoring a try. Well, probably Brian, short of scoring a try from a try, that's the next best thing you can do.
Yeah, it's a fantastic kick by Robbo. He's landed it right on the line here, and it's made it difficult for the Irish to get it out. I think the worrying thing is the speed of the line from Ireland now is a bit slow, and they seem to be struggling to get set at marker. So you got to look for fellas like Rob Burrow and Luke Robinson to start taking them on, and there could be a bit of trouble for Ireland from there.
Luke Robinson, as you saw, England Academy in 2002. McDermott with the tackle on Ben Westwood. Westwood man of the match in England's last outing, and that's an effective tackle.
Well, he's penalised them, 2 men in the tackle, and he said that Barry McDermott stripped the ball. I think that signal there from Carl Harrison says, let's go on with it, don't bother with the kick, let's just play on. So good wrestle goes on there, isn't it, with Barry Mack?
Oh, he's unlucky there.
Yeah, that's a harsh call, that.
And England looking to take advantage, maximum advantage. Robinson, Parker.
Come in.
Well, Richard Fuller doing his best to communicate. Burrow scrambling through, Burrow by name and burrowing by nature, but knocking on in the process.
He tried to go underneath the try line, didn't he? And he's lost the possession as he's bounced off the floor. It's very unfortunate, that. Great defence, though. David Bates just trapped him short. I think, Brian, what people sometimes don't realise when they're watching rugby league is how much more energy it takes out of you playing the game near to your own try line, whether that's in possession or more particularly defending near your own line. It seems to almost double drain you, doesn't it, of energy?
Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking time, because you know that a slightest mistake, and if they get 5 yards, they're over the try line. Whereas if you're defending in their half, 5-yard break, you can sort of scramble and recover, but there's no such really thing as scrambling on your own line. So it's definitely difficult down there. But Ireland are doing well. They're getting out of their half, and that's important.
Good strength from Martin McLaughlin there. Just taking his side over the 40-metre line. And here goes Phil Cantillon now. They need Phil Cantillon to really spark them there, don't they?
They do. They certainly need to. But England have been tight around the mark, around the ruck area. Good kick here now. How will Riley deal with it? Turns his back. There's no chance of a knock-on. And back up to the 30 on the first tackle. But still, that's a pretty good set for Ireland, considering they came away from the line. It's an aspect like that I know that Great Britain with Brian Kenny be working on. When wingers do run across the field, Bill, they're looking for other players to offer themselves as a support runner. If there's a gap, maybe they can get through it. Penalty now, though, against Ireland for offside. That's a tough call against them. the third tackle.
I think it was Pat Weissner. Well, any one of three, in fact. But it's, again, giving England great field position. Here comes Ewan Dowes. Great season at Hull for Ewan Dowes, the Cumbrian. His move from Leeds has really worked well for him. Here's Andy Lynch, of course. Once at Castleford, he'll be with the Bulls next season. Expect him to make a big impact there. Jamie Langley in possession now will be one of his teammates. A light rain drifting down the pitch here at the Hallowell Jones. Grey, windy day and a knock-on, and Langley protesting his innocence.
Maybe a factor with the elements now as the rain comes down, the ball gets more slippy. He's just got to try and hold on to that and play it quickly.
There was a hand in there.
Well, there wasn't. It's irrelevant now. Ireland have possession.
Oh, Littler did well to take that one. Fitzpatrick was falling as he gave the pass. The Salford man looking for a penalty.
It's just just at this stage, Bill, now 15 minutes just seems to be that Ireland may be tiring, whether they can bring anybody off the bench to add that bit of spark and impact from the middle.
Oh, that went backwards, said Monsieur Frilou. Well, that was a generous call for the Irish. Here's Barry McDermott. Problems for England with John Wilkin in a bit of trouble, Chris.
That's for sure. St Helens' only representative confirmed will not take any further part in this match, suspected broken hand.
Oh, that's terrible news for John Wilkin, as I said, just turned 21. Well, that's good defence. Good defence there from Lee Greenwood, the only London Bronco represented here. But Ireland have got it back.
That's the last tackle, and they're going to catch him in possession.
Oh, they're in all sorts of trouble here, and eventually Fitzpatrick just flapping that ball out of play.
A lot of the Irish players were trying to say that it should have been wiped back to the first tackle. The ball went to floor.
So it's going to be the turnover, and it's on Ireland's 20. Ewan Dowes. Burrow across the face of the posts, and then again they turn it back infield to Rob Parker. That seems to be a favoured ploy so far from this England side. Robinson, little step. Langley couldn't go anywhere that time. It was Matt McConnell who was right in his face. That was good defence that time from the Irish, but again the pressure is on them. Lynch, Robinson, options out wide here, but just a little delay there, and Richard Whiting with 9 on his back, doing well to retrieve the situation, doing even better to get the ball to Riley. And the try is awarded. Second try from Paul Riley, and there's the old spark. Trust him. Scored a try, celebrating, but still time.
Well, I think somebody gave him an unfortunate push there, and you wouldn't want to do that too often with Paul Riley either. He's just out of player, isn't he? He just makes himself busy, gets involved wherever the action is. Prepared to do the hard work near his own try line. He's also prepared to take any benefit when they're near their opponent's line. Perhaps the inaccuracy of the passing forced Whiting back on the inside, really. The ball went behind him, but eventually had the ability. Great offload there to Riley, who crashes over from a metre. You want one player close to, who's brave enough to dive over from a metre out. Paul Riley's the guy you want it to go to. Take a lot to stop him. And he just throws the ball, just searching. He won't switch off until Whiting dives with the ball. He'll keep alive and takes the try.
Well, Paul Riley has almost equalled his entire season's tally for the Giants this afternoon. He got 3 in Super League in 2004. He's got 2 already here today. And Burrow, another formality for him. And England ahead by 12 points to 0 now.
I think the 12-point to 0, Bill, a simple reflection of the territorial advantage. On 2 occasions they've been within 5-10 metres of the Irish line, and they've managed to score a try. Remember the pressure that they put on Ireland to force the possession over. It meant that they were just 20 metres from the Ireland line on the first tackle, and that distance they'll find somebody to get over. Again, it was Paul Riley.
Well, you saw the England coach Carl Harrison give the thumbs up, and he will be very pleased with the start his side have made here. Ireland could do with some of the spirit of 2000 when they got to the quarter-finals of the World Cup and really pushed England all the way in a quarter-final at Headingley. They led 10-4 at one point before going down 26-16. It was a much stronger Ireland side in those days, but it was an Ireland side with plenty of passion, and it's an Ireland side that's facing another four-pointer here as Rob Burrow will finish off this move. And problems for Ireland coach Darryl Powell. And Carl Harrison and his assistant Dennis Betts, again, satisfied with what they're seeing from their side, all going according to plan.
Well, they've been strong enough to withhold England for 20 minutes, but all of a sudden now some gaps appearing. And that's a brilliant pass from Dowse to Robinson. Inside support from the hooker, Rob Burrow. And, well, his pace will take them over. Great little team try down the middle, Brian.
That's it. It's what we spoke about earlier on. When the Irish forwards are starting to get tired, it's the likes of Luke Robinson and Rob Burrow. They're going to be a real handful. You know, they'll start picking on these big forwards, and that's the consequence of getting tired when there's small, nippy guys around you.
Rob Burrow was supposed to start the game on the bench, and he's already kicked 2 conversions. Now he's scored a try, and he's going to add another couple of points. Well, the man he replaced, Wayne Godwin, kicked something like 15 goals, I think, in the last game, in the first game, rather, of England's tournament against the Russians in Moscow. I wonder if Rob Burrow is going to exceed even that, because there's another 2-pointer from the Leeds man. And all going according to plan for this England side, ahead by 18 points to 0.
Successfully converting his own try, number 14,
Well, Godwin got 34 points in Moscow, and Rob Burrow, I think, is going to threaten that tally, Phil.
Could well do today. You know, Steve-O spoke before the game about the future of rugby league in this country. Last night we saw Stuart Field and then Adrian Morley play so well in the front row. And all of a sudden here now we're perhaps seeing the next generation, the future. They mentioned the 2008 World Cup. Scruton's on, he's come onto the field. And Earl Crabtree from the Huddersfield club. 2 good front row rowers.
That's right, Nick Scruton and the giant Earl Crabtree. Scruton, of course, who had a big season on loan at Hull. There is Crabtree.
Irish substitution at number 17, Paul Sullivan replaces number 8, David Bates.
Burrow just looking around at the options, and here is Rob Parker. Parker just swatting aside, or trying to swat aside, the tackle of Phil Cantillon, and he did well, did Cantillon. Robinson puts the kick in, and Littler, facing his own line, manages to gather that ball. And Brian, the Irish just need a decent set of 6 and a little bit of composure.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that they've done well, you know, keeping England just to the kick without conceding a try, but they really are struggling to get off their own line now, and England are revving up, and they're really bashing them. So Ireland are going to try and, I think they're going to struggle to get out of their half in this set even.
The fitness trainer with the Great Britain side this year, Brian Carl Jennings, who's with the Canberra Raiders at the moment, says that a game of rugby league is very often an energy battle, and at the moment all the energy just seems to have been taken out of the Irish side by the way England have played.
Yeah, that's one of the many things Geno says. Energy battles. Yeah, no, you're right. Ireland look a bit zapped. You know, this chase here now will give us an indication of how tired they are. And it's dog-legged. You know, that's going to cause a lot of gaps, and people like Paul Riley can exploit that.
Well, Jed Corcoran couldn't get a hold of him. He did the second time. Corcoran, Irish-born, and Brian, there's 6 Irish-born members of this current squad, and that bodes well, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I mean, this competition is a great concept, and once it gets fully up and running, and people, you know, realise that if you got Irish qualifications and English qualifications, playing for Ireland won't inhibit your chances of playing for Great Britain. Then it'll help the Irish team.
Well, this isn't helping the Irish team at the moment, because it's going to be a first try for Mark Calderwood. A simple run in for the Leeds winger, although he tried to make it as hard as possible. Well, Pat Weisner very nearly made it as hard as possible, and Brian Noble just looking on there. Inscrutable, the Great Britain coach. You'll be interested to see how some of these youngsters perform.
Well, I know the England coach will be very happy with this. Just look at the selection here. Pass selection from Luke Robinson to Westwood. He comes back on the angle. He's then pointing to the outside. Kyle Harrison, who's of course recruited Luke Robinson for Salford next season, will be happy with how his half-back's going. Just shows it on the inside, holds up the Irish defenders, and then times his pass to perfection for Westwood, who draws Littler and releases Calderwood for a good winger's try in the corner. I bet you wish you could score some as easily as that, Brian.
Yeah, it's always nice to get on the end of one of them when you got a centre that passes to you. That's good work by Westwood. You know, he saw he wasn't going to make it himself, so he gave the man that was definitely going to score, Mark Calderwood.
Ben Westwood on his home patch, of course, a Warrington player, and the locals on this crowd will be happy to see his involvement. But there's Mark Calderwood. Got a hat-trick in England's last game, their victory in France in Avignon. Now then, first real tester for Rob Burrow. Kicks so far.
I'll back him out.
Well, they've all been bang in front of the posts or thereabouts. This one just away to the right a little bit. Trying to preserve his 100% record with the boots, and that he's done. Not a problem.
You're up 50p.
And England ahead by 24 points to 0, and looking very, very ominous for the Irish. I think it's going to be a long afternoon.
They just can't get possession, can they, anywhere near their opponent's half, and we've occasionally seen them shift the ball wide and have a little bit of space, and the wingers get a run down the sidelines, but they need to get a bit closer to the English try line to have any chance of lifting, I think, their own spirits as well.
Well, they haven't got near the England line yet, this Irish side. A steady stream of possession for the Carl Harrison's side. Earl Crabtree.
You know, a lot of people in the game do respect Earl Crabtree and think he's going to have a fantastic future, and one of the simple reasons is because of his size. When you see Willie Mason come onto the field for the Australian side, he has that impact as well.
And he'll probably be making that impact next Saturday when Australia take on Great Britain in the next round of this fascinating Tri-Nation series. It's on Sky Sports 1, 6 o'clock. We'll be at the JJB for what should be another humdinger of a game. And of course, Great Britain can qualify for the final at Elland Road if they can beat the Aussies. And Brian Noble, the Great Britain manager, fresh from their success over the Kiwis, in the stand here as Calderwood gets the ball back inside to Westwood. That's good defence from the Irish that time, and Westwood is in touch. Surely he's in touch, says Lee Doran.
Put the blinkers on the touch shoes, didn't they? Good kick again from Burrow this time.
And great defence from Carl Fitzpatrick. But he can do nothing about that. Well, Lee Doran appealing that he dragged the man into touch, but the tackle had been completed, according to the officials. Westwood's movement had been stopped. There's Ian Dowling, Kilkenny Wildcat and Shannon Rugby Union player, one of the homegrown players in this Irish side, and a bit of a hurler, I understand, Brian, something that you were quite good at, wasn't it? Was it hurling?
That's after a big night out.
Thank you very much. Or was it the Gaelic football?
Gaelic football I tried from time to time. Hurling was a bit too tough for me.
It must be tough then.
It's almost like a perfect training session for England this at the moment. They just get possession perfectly in the half, then they get a repeated set with a goal line dropout. You have to compliment the way they've played, though. Sometimes against an inferior opposition, you know, the game plan can go out of the window and players tend to do their own thing off the cuff, but they seem to remain within a pretty good structure.
Here's Richard Whiting. Whiting gets the ball away to Coley. The Salford man is tackled about 8 metres out. Burrow. Riley in the thick of things. He's looking for his hat-trick, poor Riley. But he's driven backwards in the tackle. 4 tackles gone. Robinson, Parker now. Parker, Robinson, and Littler with the tackle on his teammate for next season.
Come in.
It's on the last, and Rob Burrow thumps the kick in, but that's way too strong. I think he was looking to get that one more laterally.
Is that about one of the first mistakes they've made in 29 minutes and about 8 seconds of the game gone? Well, I say mistake, not a perfect outcome for them.
Come here.
So Ireland just having a bit of a respite from the England pressure. Paul Darley not impressed with that tackle, wanting a penalty, I think, from Richard Freelou. Felt that Earl Crabtree had tried to slow him down.
They need a penalty. Could they not send that Irish Wolfhound onto the referee and threaten him or something? Do they get aggressive, those things, Brian?
He's sitting over there with his paws over his eyes. He can't believe the score.
4 tackles gone. They're just about on the halfway line, Ireland. And Littler puts the kick in. And it's Richard Whiting who falls on the ball. And then Tommy Gallagher falls on Richard Whiting. Now here's Rob Parker. Just getting a little bit feisty, the Irish side at the moment. Langley.
I think he's been perhaps one of England's best in the first half an hour, Jamie Langley. I'm sure he's going to have a huge future in the game. If he continues his improvement and development as a player, he's got a massive 10 years ahead of him.
England Academy captain, of course, Jamie Langley, in that series victory against the Aussie schoolboys a couple of years ago. Here's Richard Whiting. His move from Featherstone to Hull has really paid off for him. Had a great season at his new club, rounding it off with an international appearance here as Robinson puts the kick in, and well positioned was Carl Fitzpatrick there.
But it seems like Groundhog Day for these Irish. They just keep getting the ball near their own line, don't they, every time they get the possession?
Well, they do, but they defended very well for the last 2 sets.
Littler has lost that ball. It's gone backwards again. He's a bit generous in his interpretation of that, Richard Freelou.
Come here.
Ooh. Littler again.
Good hit.
No.
Well, they might be
Come here.
24 ahead, England, and cruising at the moment, but there's no lack of fieriness out there from either side. Here's Fitzpatrick. Darley. McLaughlin. McLaughlin is not a centre by trade, but he did well for the Irish there. Probably their best set going forwards here. Little grubber kick, and it's well dealt with. Weissner's kick, and it was Langley who tied it up for England.
I think maybe
Robinson gliding through there. Luke Robinson needs some support. He's got it, but the ball goes behind Lee Greenwood, and then Ireland make a mess of that, and they've got the ball back fortuitously there. Well, Lee Greenwood.
Well, they've put a bit of aggression into the games, Ireland, and firstly in defence, and now when they're carrying the ball, and it seems to have lifted the spirits.
Here's Weissner. Robinson, his opposite number, with the tackle. Now then, can Ireland trouble this England defence? Here's Paul Darley. Paul Southern. Jed Corcoran. Here's Weissner. McLaughlin. Unable to go forwards there, the Irish. Cantillon now. Phil Cantillon. Another little grubber kick, and Whiting has knocked that ball forward. He can't believe the decision. Meanwhile, off the ball, it is just starting to hot up a little bit. Paul Darley is involved. Lee Greenwood. And I think Greenwood took exception to that challenge off the ball.
Well, it was what was he thinking, Paul Darley?
Okay, let's get a grip, boys.
Accidental offside.
Hey,
and the penalty goes to Ireland. Well, Richard Freelou giving both players a talking to there. I'm not sure they exactly understood what he was saying, but the touch judge intervening. Oh, and Calderwood snaps that one up. He saw it coming, and a great opportunity goes begging. Calderwood wanting to take the quick tap.
The touch judge coming on. This will be a great little talky bit. We'll just listen to what they're going to say here, Bill.
Okay. Number 4,
Number 4, me.
Okay.
Number 4, 4. Yeah, I'm going. Yes.
Well, it's delegation. I think he's delegating responsibility.
I have to talk to you because Richard can't understand. What's happened is, I've seen you tackle the player, I've not seen the ball come out. Then you're giving me foul and abusive language coming back to me. I haven't seen it, so you can't comment, okay?
Okay, speak. Okay. Possible. Lee Doran was the player getting the talking to. And Richard Freelou says, shh.
He's not happy the touch judge, is he?
So that penalty takes England just inside their own half. Here's Rob Parker. Well, that was a good spell for the Irish.
It was. The disappointing thing is that because Ireland haven't had possession, they panicked when they did get a chance, and they didn't once get on the. They kicked it on the third and the fourth tackles, and you really want to be getting to the fifth tackle when you get the ball. They haven't had it for 30 minutes. Once they get a chance, they panicked a bit.
Big Earl Crabtree. Oh, and does well to offload to teammates. Huddersfield teammate, England teammate Paul Riley. Riley is scragged by Tommy Gallagher. Burrow, Whiting, quick hands to Coley. And Coley just trying to squeeze that pass out, and the ball knocked on in the end. England maybe just taking the foot off the gas, getting a bit sloppy.
I think maybe Ireland have turned up the gas, and that aggression in defence now maybe forced a mistake. Just threw the arm around, didn't he, there, Paul Daly, as he was trying to offload. In that part of the field, I don't think you can criticise Coley for trying what he thought was the right pass.
He was trying to reach Kirk Yeaman, but it's Ireland who come up with possession.
Come on.
Stuart Littler takes the tackle. Here goes Weissner. It's a good run from Patrick Weissner of Halifax. Fresh from helping his side stay in National League One at the expense of York City Knights, of course, in that qualifying final just the other week. Oh, and Cantillon then just trying to squeeze the pass away, and the ball slips from his grasp, and again Ireland concede possession. When you've had so little of it, you can hardly afford to do that.
It's a good Russian defence there from Southern. He got up quickly, knew Crabtree was coming for it.
Russian defence?
Rush in defence.
Oh, there's a knock on there. Nick Scruton just losing possession.
I think again Ireland have lifted. I don't know what sparked them into life. It was about 30 minutes into their game, and a bit of push and shove went on in the play the ball, Brian, and all of a sudden they've upped their effort.
Well, you spoke earlier about how composed England looked, and I think Carl Harrison would be a little bit disappointed that they're not completing their sets here. You know, when you're 24 points ahead, you should just try and put the nail in the coffin, and England are trying to force the ball that bit too much.
Come in. Okay.
Littler. And opposite number Paul Riley just having a little bit of verbals after the ball had gone. McDermott. Here's Weissner. Lee Doran, the Oldham player, takes the tackle. Cantillon now. Here's McDermott. McDermott to Southern. Paul Southern, 120 plus appearances for Salford, but on his way to Swinton Lions for the new season. On the last now. Now then, what's the kick like? It's drifting wide to Carl de Chenu, and it's still on the last. Daly puts the kick in this time, and Riley takes that one comfortably. And I think there might have been a bit of a communication breakdown there between touch judge and referee. No.
It was the best end to a set for Ireland, and you know the way they came back in the second half last week, maybe they do have that bounce back ability that they would have to amazingly to come back into this game if they could just get something like a try before half time. Something like a try, or maybe even a try, like a try, a penalty try. This is it.
No.
Now then, Richard Freelou has penalised Martin McLaughlin there, and England have another penalty. Burrow thumps it into touch, and they're on the halfway line. So couple of minutes left in this first half, which has been satisfactory from the England point of view. 24-0 ahead, but probably the last 10-15 minutes of this first half maybe not so satisfying for Carl Harrison.
No, I want to say they finished this. A good offload there again from Crabtree onto Scruton.
Scruton straight up the middle, but they've lost possession and it's been picked up by Stuart Littler now. So Ireland can maybe take heart from the way they've lifted their game. Here's Carl Deschenaux of the Sheffield Eagles, Dublin-born Carl Deschenaux, an East Coast Eagle in the early days of his rugby league career. Barry McDermott driving that one up to the halfway line. Cantillon now. Carl Fitzpatrick to Pat Weissner. Weissner straight up the middle. Oh, he's lost the ball. It's gone backwards and it's been picked up by Ben Westwood. Well, just finding a hint of a gap in that England defence there was Pat Weissner. The clock running down in this first half as Langley has possession. Here's Robinson, puts the kick in for Calderwood to chase. If that one sits up, oh, and Calderwood dancing on that touchline there. And the ball in the end comes to the hands of Stuart Littler as the first half comes to an end. England threatening as they have done for so much of this first half. And a satisfactory performance, particularly from Rob Burrows' perspective, because England are ahead by 24 points to 0. Well, England have beaten Russia 98-4, France 42-4 to qualify for the final. And Ireland proving a bit of a tougher prospect, and they'll have taken confidence, Phil, from the way they ended that first half, the Irish, and they could do with a similar start to this second half.
They certainly could. You said they were named after the Irish wolfhound. That's the mascot and emblem that they've had in the dressing room at half-time. Maybe, Brian, he's had a word with them, that dog that we saw, and I know the characteristics of a wolfhound, a very proud breed and one that great tenacity.
Yeah, all that, and I guess the Irish will be hoping to finish, or to start the second half the way they finished the first. It'll be important that they don't let the English get away. I think they'll be looking to get a score on the board as well. You never want to go home with a nil beside your name, so it'll be very good, interesting to see now.
Well, Ireland just watching each other for a moment as that kick-off landed deep in their own half. In the end, it was Martin McLaughlin who retrieved the ball. And then it's Carl Deschenaux. 2 hat-tricks this season for the Sheffield Eagles. Oh, and Barry McDermott's gone without the ball, and that could be an expensive start to this second half, and a mistake like that right in front of your own posts.
If anything, maybe you're slightly critical of the quality of that pass. Hands to it, but it wasn't what you wanted if you're front row, and it's given England a great opportunity now to get a good start in the second half. Westwood trying to get on the outside of his man. And when England can get within 5 to 10 metres of the Irish line, they can usually get over it. Can the Irish, with a half-time rest, provide a sterner resistance?
Here comes, well, it looked like Earl Crabtree. He was the dummy runner. Whiting fires the ball out wide. Here is Sean Briscoe. Oh! And Lee Greenwood has gone without the ball. Well, that was a let-off for the Irish, and the London Bronco had a golden opportunity there. So Ireland could have been made to pay a heavy price for that early knock-on as it is. It's the Irish who have possession. Here is McDermott. This time he holds on to that ball.
Good run again from Southern there. They've made 20 metres in 2 drives and made it look relatively easy, and that's a worrying sign for England. You want a strong defence, certainly in and around the ruck to begin with. That's where you've got to start. They've let Ireland get out of trouble far too easily there, Brian. Yeah, it's an impressive start. Barry's atoned for his earlier error. He made a great run and a very quick play of the ball, one of Barry's trademarks.
Weissner's kick, but he's disappointed with that, Pat Weissner, standing in back play because he saw that one sail straight into the hands of Lee Greenwood. The crowd appealing for a high tackle on the winger. Here is McDermott with the tackle on the young pretender Scruton. Here's Big Earl Crabtree.
Do you know what he does there, Bill? He just steps to the outside of that foot. It means that you're sucking in defenders from out wide. They don't really want to get involved in that now. They've got to work harder to get back to the line, and Whiting looks to exploit those now as they're up and down on that yo-yo running.
Coley tackled by Paul Darley. Here's Paul Riley trying to spin out of the tackle. It's good defence so far from the Irish stubborn defence, and Riley has just fumbled that, and that'll be the turnover. Well, that was clumsy, careless from the England side.
Good hit by Whiting there. He got up quickly. Maybe they've recognised the fact they don't want to allow Ireland out of that danger zone quite as easily this time. Good technique work this time, controlling that speed of the play of the ball. Robinson in there, again working for marker. That's great defence now from England. Westwood controlling.
With the aid of Luke Robinson. Let's get half-time news from Chris Warren down on the sidelines.
Well, Bill, it'll be interesting to see how Ireland finish this set. Their last set, that poor kick by Weissner, their coach will not be happy with that. The one area that Darryl Powell wanted to pick up was the kicking game. He simply said we need to pick that game up to build some pressure, and who knows what might happen. Let's not forget that last week they were down 10-3 at half-time, 40 unanswered points in the second half against Scotland to win by 43 points to 10. In the opposite camp, well, Carl Harrison was reasonably happy with the opening start to the first half. His message was stick to our script, let's not panic, get back to basic and cut out the simple errors, and
Here
the
come
points
the
will
Irish.
come.
Great opportunity, but oh, the knock-on from Luke Robinson.
No, it went backwards, Bill.
It went backwards. Let's rejoin Chris.
Well, the pressure now off for England. Just back on that, Carl Harrison said just cut out the errors, get back to our script, and the points will simply come.
Sean Briscoe is on for England. Well, that was a promising position, Brian.
Yeah, clever bit of play by the Irish winger Carl Lechenu. He followed up, chased up the kick, and robbed one-on-one. Robbed Greenwood one-on-one. Very impressive, and unfortunately Ireland knocked on.
Probably the best position they've had in the entire game, I'd guess. And another knock-on from England, and Ireland are getting in their faces a bit more.
This will be really good for Ireland. The English are under more pressure than Ireland. England are going for places in the Great Britain team, places in the future of the Great Britain team. They want to put on a good show, as with Ireland, but they've got less pressure on them now, so England are starting to show a few mistakes.
Jamie Langley that time was the culprit. Uncharacteristic error from the Bradford Bulls youngster. Is Lee Doran, and Doran in a tussle with Paul Riley, and the referee will penalise, I think, the England duo. And there were two of them in there, and Paul Riley was definitely going for that ball.
Well, that's what the referee's given. Now then, I think from memory the best chance for Ireland to attack, the first tackle, they're just 25 metres from the England line. Great opportunity. Maybe they need to keep the ball alive. Some good close support plays, what they need if they can get guys like McDermott offloading the ball.
The key here is that they get to the kick. They really need to get to the kick and build pressure.
Littler takes the tackle. Just gone straight across the field. No yards gained so far. Now here goes Phil Cantillon. Pops the ball up. It's with Martin McLaughlin, and McLaughlin using his strength. We said earlier on he's not a natural centre, but he is a strong figure. Fitzpatrick to McDermott. He's another strong figure. Oh, he's a strong figure. And McDermott gets the first Irish try. Simple, but effective.
And that's why we talk about field position being so important. You get close to your opponent's line, there's usually at least one guy in your side who's powerful enough to crash over it. And there aren't many more powerful or dynamic than Barry McDermott. He's got a book out, you've said this week, called Made for Rugby. Well, it's a perfectly named book, really, when you describe Barry McDermott. He's just rugby through and through. And his timing of this run is perfect. The other thing that makes him such a dangerous player, this is a penalty that gave them the field position, is his footwork. He's able to step on Coley, doesn't know which side he's going to go, bounces off him and crashes over the line through Paul Riley. Little bit of a show. Very often it's the head, isn't it, Brian, that sends the opponent the wrong way. You did it with Minicello last week. Barry McDermott's just done it to get Ireland on the scoreboard.
I wouldn't fancy stopping that tank near the line. That's inspirational stuff. We started off the second half with Barry knocking on. He would have been very disappointed with that, but the kind of player is, he comes back down the other end of the field and scores a try and gets Ireland some points on the board. That's inspirational from the big fella.
Weissner converting McDermott's try. England 24, Ireland 6. There's bite in these Wolfhounds.
They've played like the Hunters, haven't they, in the second half? They've nothing to lose, Brian says.
No, nothing to lose, all to gain.
Well, that's a little bit of a G-up for this England side. Stuart Jones, the 18th man today, is bringing the kicking tee on for Luke Robinson. And Carl Harrison will probably be disappointed with the way that the England side have just gone off the boil, having really dominated for the first half hour.
He might be, but I tell you what, I'd be thrilled with the fact that at least his side now have got a tough competitive game for another 33 minutes, and that's really what the players at this level need. Wants to see what sort of response, how do they handle this type of environment. So it's a very strange one for many of them, and Ireland now looking to move the ball wide. It's a poor pass and a knock-on. At the highest level, it very often is the simple skills that let players down and separate the best from the rest. Just a poor pass there, really.
Weissner looking daggers at Carl Fitzpatrick, I think it was, who landed at him in that situation. Ball dipping down by his toes. And Ireland, having had the pressure, or built the pressure, just release it a bit, and England are back in possession and looking to reassert their authority in this game.
If they do want to reassert it, they've got to go forward first in the middle, and they do that through Riley. Good strong run by him.
Langley scragged by Lee Doran. Rob Burrow, here is Andy Lynch. And Lynch flipping that ball out, and it's Scruton who's first to react to it. And now they're just about 5 yards out. Well, he knocked that one on, and well done, Richard Frelou. The referee spotting that one.
Who are you shouting for, Bill?
I'm merely applauding his refereeing skills.
Good on you, Bill. Come on, Ireland. We'll give a special mention to Martin McLaughlin there. You know, playing out of his position in the centres, and he's been tremendous in defence and attack. He's making some great yards, and he's putting in some big shots for Ireland.
Andy Lynch has returned, as we've seen, in place of Earl Crabtree. Martin McLaughlin winning his 5th cap for Ireland. Currently playing for Oldham. There's Paul Darley. There is McLaughlin. He's Wigan Rugby League development as well. I think he's involved in that.
Absolutely. He drives the minivan around the town and keep coaching the kids.
Sounds like a character from a Peter Kay film, though.
Paul Southern. Cantillon trying to hand off Scruton, but Scruton doing well. That's the 5th tackle. Oh, spectacular. Marks out of 10.
Oh, 5.5. The referee, good pressure there by Whiting. I'd give Whiting 10 out of a 10.
Oh, and Greenwood's paid the price, has he? Carl Descheno could get this ball. I think he's knocked it on, and it's back with Paul Riley. Well, just for a moment there, it looked as though hesitation was going to be very pricey for Lee Greenwood.
And Lee Greenwood has had problems with the last 2 kicks that have come down this side of the field. Carl Deschenu got the ball last time. This time he was lucky that Riley was there to assist him.
He's knocked on.
But a knock on by Calderwood.
And the touch judge has spotted that one.
Jed Corcoran again there. They're just getting busy. They hustle and bustle, and it's giving them a chance. It's a lifeline now again. Possession. The last time they got possession, 20 metres from England's line, they scored a try through Barry McDermott. Another opportunity here. Full width of the back line to attack from.
Carl Harrison looking philosophical. Darryl Powell unmoved, but really he must be very proud of the way his side have responded to the situation they found themselves in. 24-0 down and really on the rack, and they've come battling back. McConnell bravely in there. Weissner flings the ball to Johnny Gallagher, younger brother of Tommy Gallagher.
Well read by Sean Briscoe. He got up quickly, didn't he, on his man? Stopped the ball, stopped the movement of the play.
Well, there's a generation gap for you. McDermott and John Gallagher. 19 years old, John Gallagher. And here come Ireland again. Great opportunity. Oh, and Doran couldn't get the ball away. He's passed that ball off the ground, but they're still going. England appealing for a knock on there.
He's appealing for a try.
Still the Irish. They put the grubber kick in. The pressure is on England at the moment, and they're forced to hack that ball dead. It was Whiting to the rescue.
It's probably the best kick that Ireland have made in the game. Riley palms it out of play, and then eventually Warrington kicks it out of play. Here's where Ireland went close.
Oh, that should have been a penalty.
Good effort by England to hold him up and keep him in the field of play. Now then, what sort of distance will Robinson want to get on this kick? I'm sure he'll want it to be close to the halfway line. It's a disappointing kick from him.
Here goes Paul Southern. Runs straight into the tackle of Nick Scruton. Phil Cantillon, Paul Darley. Darley is tackled. Well, the possession really is stacked in Ireland's favour in this second half. Complete contrast to that first half. Oh, and then the ball from Lee Doran, and it was over the head of Ian Dowling, and the two of them just having a bit of a communication breakdown there.
Well, again, some optimism for the Irish camp there. They're finding spaces. There are opportunities if they can just find the man attacking down this end of the field. I think maybe they, perhaps if anything, Brian, in awe of the English side before the game, and now that they've played with them, they've had a feel of the ball, they've got involved in defence, their confidence has grown even though they're still behind on the scoreboard.
Absolutely, confidence will definitely have grown. They can be very proud of themselves. This first 13 minutes of the second half, they've been superb. It's unfortunate they didn't start the game like this, but whatever happens in this game, they can take tremendous pride out of their performances. You know, it's great to see that they really are giving the English a tough game now.
Briscoe straight into the tackle of McLaughlin, but he manages to get away from that one. In the end, he's nailed by Jed Corcoran. Corcoran led the Irish tackling stats in that first half, and he's again involved as the Halifax player. Robinson puts the kick in, and back there is Sheffield Eagle Carl de Chenou. Exotic surname. His father was originally from Paris and moved to Dublin, which is where Carl was born. And there's Ian Dowling. Must have thought he had the opportunity of a try just a few moments ago, but the ball went over his head. Problems for the Irish. Chris?
Well, there are problems, but there have been some encouraging signs by the Irish. They're certainly creating their own luck at the moment. No such luck for Stuart Littler. It's very unlikely he'll return what's suspected to be an AC damage to the left shoulder.
And that's why John Gallagher is operating at full-back at the moment.
Great kick, Bill.
England full-back Paul Riley retrieving that one, and surely there was an obstruction there by Nick Scruton on the chasing. I think it was Ian Dowling.
I don't know about the obstruction, just the kick was let down by the chasers in the middle of the field, not pushing up to complement the guys out wide. And Riley, in his experience and coaching, taught him if he found that middle section, he could find a gap through it. England out of trouble, but again, positive signs, good defence, the hitting and spinning. England look to offload to keep the ball alive. Burrows now on the field. Nothing seems to be threatening this Irish defence at the moment.
Well, that could be tempting fate, because Rob Burrow is back. He caused problems in the first half for the Irish defence. Here's Andy Lynch. Lynch with Scruton on his shoulder. The big men taking on the Irish in midfield. That's the fifth tackle. Luke Robinson will hoist the kick, and they'll put John Gallagher under pressure. They are under pressure. The ball has come down. It's still in play, and a knock on by England, I think it was.
Offside.
In fact, offside. Beg your pardon. Yes, Lee Doran it was. And then it was picked up by one of his Irish teammates.
Well, again, a perfect kick from Luke Robinson. If you can get the ball just a metre short of the try line, everybody on your side's got a chance. Just walking back with the ball as you can do and take a tap penalty wherever you like. Sets England going with the first charge to Lynch. Oh, he's lost possession. Looking for the offload at the back, wasn't he, out of that hand?
Well, that's a let-off again for Ireland. Paul Darley was first to the ball there when it came loose. A little bit of frustration creeping into England now. Paul Southern getting up gingerly from that double tackle.
in the first half, England were able to contain Ireland through 3, 4, 5 tackles and make them really work hard to get out of that danger zone. But so far in the 17 minutes we've seen in the second half, they haven't had a problem bringing it away from their own line. They've kicked early in the tackle count.
And Weissner looking for a 40-20, but straight into the arms of Paul Riley. And Riley tanking back up the middle of the field, cutting a swathe through the green of Ireland there, and taking his side deep into Irish territory. And Burrow trying to duck under the tackle. Lee Greenwood keen to get involved. And a patchy start to this second half as the England winger makes a few yards there. Here's Lynch. Lynch with Robinson on his shoulder, but he goes on his own, Andy Lynch. Options either side for Rob Burrow. Whiting puts the kick in. That's going to be too strong.
Again, a let-off now for Ireland. A let-off through good defence, though. They can turn the English side. It's a quick tap penalty. Look at the confidence now that the Irish side, McLaughlin, that's a good 10-metre gain there on a tap 20-metre restart.
Absolutely, and we still haven't seen Phil Cantillon go. I'd like to see Phil Cantillon run a bit more from dummy half on the back of a quick play of the ball, because that's the forte of his game.
Well, exchange of pleasantries there between Paul Darley and Andy Coley. Ball meanwhile with Jed Corcoran. Here's David Bates, made a big impression last time we saw him on Sky Sports in that Halifax playoff victory. The side coming from behind, of course, to make sure of their place in National League One.
Again, it's the chase in the middle of the field that's let that kick down. And he's made 20 extra metres because the guys in the middle just didn't have the energy or the enthusiasm to get up there and contain Riley.
Here's the England captain, Rob Parker.
Come here.
Langley, a Bradford Bulls combination there. Three tackles gone. Westwood goes down the short side. The Irish were alert to that. And they're muscling up well in defence so far are the Irish. Bates standing his ground against Parker. Again, there's numbers there. It's got to be draining, though, this for this Irish side. What's the kick like from Luke Robinson this time? Well, he's under pressure, but it's a great chase from Calderwood. Couldn't quite take it in, but the thinking was superb. Very nearly came off, and it was that close, Mark Calderwood.
Well, what a kick under pressure too. I mean, he had 3 players coming at him. Calderwood's just ability and awareness really of where the ball's going to be is fantastic. Do you know that we've just completed now the 3rd quarter of this game, and Ireland have actually won it, haven't they? 6 points to 0, and deservedly so, really. You couldn't say that that was any luck. Their effort, endeavour and enthusiasm have given them that 6-point lead in the second half.
Darryl Powell, who of course is now in charge of player development and recruitment at the Leeds Rhinos, has really enjoyed having a hands-on job again in coaching terms with this Irish side, and he'll be pleased, really thrilled, I guess, with the way they've responded to that the situation they found themselves in.
Absolutely, it's been an exceptional first 20 minutes here at second half for Ireland. That's another huge run. I think it's Barry Mack again. That sort of lifts teams now.
And here's a first touch for Declan Foy, and then the ball's put down, and that could be expensive. It was Fitzpatrick, I think, who put the pass down, and Declan Foy, son of former Great Britain international Des Foy, is out there for the Irish, but here comes Lee Greenwood. Now a bit of desperate defence this time from the Irish. Lynch doing well to offload that ball, and it's picked up.
Well, it looked, didn't it, maybe like a knock-on from Ireland. Eventually the touch judges communicated that England will get possession here. Just a knock-on quickly before it was picked up by Calderwood. But the pride in defending their own line in this second half, outstanding by the Irish. It'll need to be good here now.
Bit of pressure coming on them now. England are mounting the pressure, and they've had a lot of ball in Ireland's territory.
And maybe this Irish defence beginning to tell in terms of tiredness. Luke Robinson very nearly exploiting the gap there. Lee Doran just managing to shut the door on him, but here is Whiting. Whiting, tall, deceptive footwork from Whiting. Lynch now, he'll use his strength once more to batter his way through the Irish defence, right on their own try line now. Ewan Dowes, Burrow, it's Robinson, beg your pardon, Robinson, here's Kirk Yeaman, and Yeaman is into touch. That's great defence that time from Paul Darley and Carl de Chenou.
It's a wonderful effort, isn't it? Barry McDermott and Darryl Powell seem to have inspired this side at half-time and said, listen, come on, if we try our hardest, we've got a chance of competing with these guys. They're doing more than that. They're winning the second half. And they're probably winning one or two of the neutral fans here in the crowd today. It's a great effort from them.
Again, Martin McLaughlin, outstanding, you know, driving him into touch there. I see him behind the desk most days in Wigan, you know, but this is a tremendous performance from Martin McLaughlin.
Yeah, I beg his pardon, it was McLaughlin in the tackle there with Carl de Chenou. Here's Phil Cantillon, trying to use that footwork and speed as Brian has suggested. But of course England will be alert to the threat that Phil Cantillon poses, because he does have a phenomenal try-scoring record, a record of tries by a forward, of course. 48 in 33 games for Widnes in 2001, Phil Cantillon scored. And he scored 4 tries in Ireland's win over Scotland in this competition. Yeaman, it's good hands by England and good work from Rob Burrow, keeping this ball alive and then having to take the tackle because there was no support there for him.
Well, as time builds now, so does the pressure on this Irish defence. It seems now maybe 5, 7 minutes, or 5, 6, 7 minutes now that they've been in their own half, and I think the spirit and effort and enthusiasm can only last for so long against the side with the quality that England have here now. Offloading as the tacklers become more tired. Fatigue sets in and Parker goes through.
And Rob Parker gets that ball down. And the captain leads from the front. It's been a really determined performance from the Irish to keep England at bay, but eventually Rob Parker found a way through to get his first try for the country he's leading, and right under the nose of the referee.
And one of Andy Lynch's greatest attributes is his ability to commit defenders and then still offload the ball. Whiting it is who was supporting to him, and then the determination on Parker's face. Carl Harrison made him captain because he said he's got tremendous character, and he showed the determination to lift his side here when they needed it and get over the line for an important try in the second half. As soon as he got the ball, he knew there was just no way that he would be stopped before he put the ball over, despite Barry McDermott trying to hold him up. Planted it down for an important score.
Well, Carl Harrison enjoyed that. That's more like it from his side. And Barry McDermott got a bang on the head in trying to stop Rob Parker's effort. And Rob Burrow with 100% success rate so far. And this should be another 2 points for England's hooker today, with the aid of the upright. And England back on course, ahead by 30 points to 6. But this Irish defence has really taken some breaking down. Credit to them for keeping England at bay so long in this second half. Rob Parker eventually finding a way through, and Barry McDermott having to leave the field looking a little bit groggy. Now then, is Ireland's effort going to really drain them? That's good defence from Declan Foy there.
He's knocked that on.
It's a bad mistake, isn't it, when you've scored a try? I'm sure they will have talked about trying to lift now for the remaining 14 minutes of the game. Put Ireland to bed, come up with another try, but they've come up with a mistake. And a great chance now again for Ireland. It's what they needed. They've had to do a lot of work in defence.
Fitzpatrick goes on his own.
That's it.
He's got great pace, Carl Fitzpatrick, as we've seen in Super League this season for Salford. Here's Pat Weissner.
There, come here.
Great position for the Irish as Cantillon flips it back inside for Matt McConnell. Cantillon. Weissner pops the ball up for David Bates, and Bates will get the ball down, and Ireland responds. Another big performance from David Bates. Much travelled, he's played in Super League with Castleford and in the town of Warrington, and he's made his mark in Warrington with a try for the Irish.
And the Irish will look back on this game and just think if they could only have manufactured more opportunities to attack the English line. They just stuck the defenders up. He waits, he puts the ball behind. I think it's Westwood, and Bates gratefully follows his fellow front row Barry McDermott in crossing the line. Weissner passed there to Bates, some suspect about whether it's forward. Bates wasn't bothered, he took it and put it over the line. Cantillon congratulates him. Great riposte by the Irish.
David Bates winning his 5th cap for this Irish side.
Great ball by Weissner there. You'll see similar tonight on NFL on Sky.
Well, Pat Weissner with the opportunity with the kicking team, but unlike the kicking team in Gridiron, Weissner has to stay on the field. He doesn't just come on, kick the goal and go off and then pocket his however many millions of dollars it is.
No, this is great. This is really good to see. 30 points to 12. We've got about 15 minutes left, I think. The Irish are really putting in a great display. And let's hope we can see Barry Mack come onto the field for the last 10 minutes.
Well, doesn't seem to be too badly off Barry McDermott. Chris, what's the situation?
He's okay, Bill. He's a tough old stager, and he took a bang on the head. He was even signing some autographs in that short break. But Darryl Powell knows just how important Barry Mack is to this team. He's in fact been involved in 5 of the 8 substitutions. His experience is just paramount to the performance. Of course, he's one of only 2 players in the current team that was there in that match in the 2000 World Cup.
Signing autographs, signing books, probably flogging a few copies while he's out there as well. Here is the try scorer, David Bates. Paul Southern, just inside their own 40 now. Here's Pat Weissner. And McConnell takes the tackle. It's the 5th, just on the halfway line. Cantillon, and Cantillon will chase his own kick and
wins a penalty.
Will win the penalty, yes.
Well, Brian Carney might have a future in coaching, Bill, because he's been just asking for Cantillon to run from that area. He thinks it would cause problems for the English. A few years' time, you'll be coaching this Irish side, Brian.
I don't know. Entertainment's manager. I'll bring the Wolfhound out again.
Well, Ben Westwood was the culprit there.
It's Terry O'Connor, apparently, that Wolfhound. They couldn't get a real one, so they got him to dress up as it.
I was wondering, he looked a bit grey.
Well, the Wolfhound will be enjoying this second half. Here is Declan Foy, winning his 3rd cap for his native country. Like I said, his dad, Des, played for Great Britain. Here come Ireland again with McLaughlin. McLaughlin using his strength. Right on England try line, and John Gallagher, losing grand finalist in the senior academy with Leeds just a few weeks ago. Cantillon almost in, and he's forced into touch, and that's good defence from the English in the corner.
Well, I think everybody in the game of rugby league knows what a danger Phil Cantillon can be there, poaching so many of his tries by just diving through a gap and scoring over the line from a metre out. But the English defence was aware of it, prevented another try in the corner, which would have been a huge disappointment for England if Ireland score again in this second half.
The big fear we had before this game started was that the English might walk away with the game, and you know, there's been some big scores, and they beat Russia by 90-odd points to 4, and they hammered France. So it's great for the you know, to give the competition respectability that they get this this tight result in this tight game. And also, you know, in the future, people won't be looking at Ireland as walkovers.
Well, this is only their 16th full international, Brian, and to think that made the Emerging Nations final in 1995, World Cup quarterfinals in 2000, European Nations Cup final now. 6 homebred players in this squad. It's all positive.
That's a big thing, Bill. You got these homebred players playing against Super League, Super League regulars, and that will give them a tremendous boost. You've got guys that are going to go back to a job tomorrow morning, and they get a chance to play on the big stage here, and they're not letting themselves down.
Certainly haven't in this second half. They're winning this second half, 12 points to 6 at the moment, ahead on in those respects, behind 30 points to 12 on the scoreboard, but certainly has been a big improvement from Darryl Powell's side.
They're ahead of many of the indicators too of how a team's just travelling, and that's perhaps a worry for England, but a compliment to Ireland. England have been unable to really contain them defensively. You've got to credit the go forward from the Irish side. Good offload there at the back, and it continues to play on.
Eventually comes to a halt as McLaughlin is tackled. Here is Pat Wisner now. Wisner fires that ball out wide. We haven't really seen the pace of Ian Dowling on that Irish left-hand side, and that was an expensive offload. Could be an expensive offload because England have got the ball back, but Ewan Dowles has put it down under pressure, the whole prop. And England will be disappointed at these handling errors in this second half.
It's a difficult game for, I'm defending the English side here, Brian, at 24 points nil at half-time. A lot of these guys have been used to playing in front of 15, 20,000 crowds all year. It's a smaller crowd here today. You're easily in front. You're expected to win. Maybe to live for that second half was difficult.
Well, that's the challenge that would have been laid at their door, and as far as that goes, I don't think that they've lived up to it. I know what you're saying, that they used to playing with big crowds, but they're playing against a team with 6 guys that probably, they're semi-professional. Actually, most of the team probably semi-professional, and then the Irish people are really, they're on the front in this second half. I think the moral victory is definitely going to go to the Irish in this game, and that's without a bit of bias.
Still 6 minutes left for England to put a bit more daylight between them and this gutsy Irish side, and Ireland have come up with the error and handed possession to England, and Nick Scruton has made good yards there for his side.
You could just tell, Bill, what an athlete he was then when he powered through that gap, the pace he's got.
Here is Whiting, oh, and that's gone forward. And disappointment there for Andy Coley.
Well, he had too many options, didn't he, Whiting? The short ball to Coley or the wider one to Yeaman. Both were the money ball. Both would have provided the try, but combination of the two results in a head shake for the coach.
Well, Nick Scruton, having made such an impression a moment ago, has left to be replaced by Andy Lynch.
He's rolled back the years, Barry Mack here. I don't know if he's had this much game time for about 5 years.
It's been vintage, Barry. It's tremendous to see.
There is the 32-year-old Leeds Rhino, Ireland's longest serving player, of course, Barry McDermott. This is 10th cap. Now then, did that come off the English? Oh, and Lee Doran not happy with that. No, that was Doran trying to get the ball away to Ian Dowling. And the ball sailing into touch, out of the reach of the Kilkenny Wildcat. Wildcats, Wolfhounds, it's a menagerie out there. Here comes Jamie Langley taking matters into his own hands, but Lee Greenwood is tackled by Carl de Chenou. Here's Kirk Yeaman. Burrow, Luke Robinson. Here's Dowes away to Robbie Burrow. Now an opportunity to England to finish off on a high note, is it? And Yeaman, that ball goes forward, and the crowd again disputing the decision by Richard Freilou.
I'll tell you what they can't dispute, Bill, though, the quality of the passing. It's been poor. That's poor, really, at this level.
Yeah, like the referee called tackle Dree there. I'm not sure what that means, but they've been knocking on before they've got to the kick, and that's going to be this one. Here he's back again, Tez O'Connor.
You recognise the eyes. That's what gives it away.
That's Tez.
He's a friendly hound.
Is that Ireland's last interchange?
There's another old dog. Here's Pat Weissner. Crabtree with the tackle, and Luke Robinson. Paul Southern. Cantillon has really been well shepherded by the England defence. Hasn't had an opportunity really to show his pace. McDermott trying to get that one round the corner, and it'll come back for the knock-on, because then there was an England knock-on. And it'll be England's head and feet at the scrum.
I always think you need a good try to send the crowd home happy, Brian.
Well, I'll be happy if they don't get one. If Ireland can win this second half, it'll be very impressive. With the 12-6 up as score goes in the second half.
Declan Foy with the tackle on Andy Coley, it was. Robinson back in field to Whiting, and Whiting will get the try. No! Great desperate defence from Jed Corcoran again.
Put your Union Jack back in your pocket, Bill.
Oh, here it comes, Brian. And it's Nick Scruton in the end who finds a way through. And the coach is smiling once again. Hasn't had a lot to smile about in this second half. And Nick Scruton has had a good season on loan at Hull. He's deserved a good season after a real run of bad luck with injuries. And there he was, on the shoulder, in the right place, and finishing it off.
Do you know if any player deserved a try today? I thought it was Nick Scruton. I remember speaking to Matt Adamson from the Leeds Club this year. He was telling me that there isn't a player he's not found more dedicated and interested in learning and developing than Nick Scruton. And I think it continues and probably caps off a good year for him now. He can concentrate on his off-season, and then begins the pre-season training, and hopefully we see bigger and even better Nick Scruton next year.
And his club colleague, Rob Burrow. Well, he's not really able to match Wayne Godwin's 15 goals against the Russians earlier in this tournament. Early in the first half here, it looked as though England were going to have a field day, but it's been far from that. Rob Burrow kicks his 6th goal of the game, and England leads by 36 points to 12 here at the Hallowell Jones Stadium. And it's the last action of what has been a great contest. England looking as though they were going to run away with it in the first half, but Carl Harrison's side have been made to battle all the way for their victory by these Irish Wolfhounds. Tenacious performance from them, and Barry McDermott leading by example. A try for his side. David Bates the other try scorer, but Darryl Powell's side in the end outclassed, and England retaining the European Nations Cup. The England A side won it last year. Rob Parker though leading England to victory here, following up successes against Russia in Moscow, France in Avignon, and now victory over the Irish here in Warrington. But you have to say, they really had to battle hard for it, and the Irish Wolfhounds can be very proud of their effort here today. Tommy Gallagher shakes hands with his club colleague, and Max, well, Ireland never really had the scent of victory, but they were made, England were really made to work for victory. Well, England led to victory by Bradford's Rob Parker, and he's now with Chris Warren.
Rob, an impressive performance by your guys, particularly in the opening 20 minutes. Your thoughts on the game itself?
Yeah, I thought we played well. We started off really well because we knew, you know, that Ireland, they've got a good 20 minutes in them. I didn't probably think they were probably as fit as us, so we try and play that at our pace and try and tie them down. I thought it worked.
Rugby league certainly looking healthy. I mean, a win for Great Britain, a win now for England in the space of 24 hours. There's so much depth, and you must be very proud of yourself. I mean, leading this young group.
Yeah, it was a big privilege. It was a great bunch of blokes, and I'm sure, you know, Nobby's got to pick a few of us. There's some decent lads in here I think could play definitely in Great Britain.
And what about yourself? Great Britain cap, not too far off, do you think?
Well, I'm just gonna take it by here. Hopefully Nobby might realise, you know, he's got some decent players here, and hopefully maybe one day I can get a call as well.
Well, good luck to you, mate, and well done. Back-to-back champions. Barry McDermott, I think we saw more game time from you today than we have in the past decade. You made such a difference to them. You must be very pleased with the spirit shown.
Yeah, it's a big game for some of these fellas, having been in the lower leagues for a good while. But a good performance. There's some fantastic talent on show for the England lads. Rob Parker might need a Great Britain cap to keep his head warm there.
Well, it may well be. You came back in the second half tremendously well. What was said at half-time?
Just a bit of self-belief, I think. Having not played on this stage for most of these lads throughout their career, it was a big step for them. But I think at the end they did themselves justice. The people of Ireland Rugby League can be proud, and they're taking very small steps in being a force.
Certainly in a healthy state, Ireland Rugby League, from this point forward.
Yeah, I think so. We'll take a lot of positives. Ideally, we want to get first-generation Irish lads coming through. Ian Dowling on the wing, Carl DeChenio on the other wing, and Des Foy's lad Declan. They're the first of many. We're hoping that we can get that chain and that conveyor belt going.
You're still a very proud Irishman.
Yeah, definitely. You know, people question why I'm playing this. I think it's just nice to rub shoulders with people who play the game for the right reasons. So I'm honoured to represent Ireland and honoured to play with these lads. It's a pleasure.
Well done, Barry. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
And Barry McDermott rightly very proud of the Irish performance, particularly in that second half. It was 12-all actually, the score I think in the second 24 minutes of this European Nations final. They will win the trophy, but Ireland have won a lot of people's hearts here. The Irish eyes are smiling, and no one's eyes are smiling more than Brian Carney. That was a terrific display by your boys, Brian.
It was. A cricket score. No. Last 15 minutes of the first half on a high, and they dominated. I would say dominated the game for 30 minutes of the second half, and that's tremendous from these players.
They looked the better side for long periods of that second half. There's no question about that.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, and Barry summed it up right. You know, we've got some first-generation Irish players playing in there. For them, this is a tremendous result. It's tremendous for the competition and tremendous for Ireland Rugby League.
I was talking to somebody as the referees go up and pick up their commemorative awards for being involved in this final, talking to somebody while you were commentating in the second half, and they were asking why you weren't playing. I said, well, he actually had a bit of a job to do for Great Britain last night. Maybe that's a good enough excuse not to turn out, eh?
Well, one of the drugs testers was saying the same thing to me last night. He said, why aren't you playing tomorrow? I said, mate, I'm here in my Speedos just after a hard game. No, it's tremendous. The dog's getting another look in here.
The dog's the star of the show, but there is the real star of the show, man of the match, Paul Riley, and he goes home with the man of the match award. I know that Steve-O was very impressed with him. Phil Clark, do you think as Great Britain team manager you'll have to be making any arrangements for hotel rooms for any of the players we've seen today for the next week or two?
I'll go and chat to Brian Noble after the game and he'll tell me whether that's the case, but I think to go back to the game itself, it was perhaps easier for the Irish lads to lift themselves for this game than it is for England, and maybe a difficulty we've got in terms of the further development of young English players and British players I should say, is finding a quality opposition for England to play against. Maybe in a perfect world they would go on tour to Australia or New Zealand and play against sides who are a little bit better than them at this stage. That's the only way they will develop. Maybe it was hard for them to lift, especially 24-0 at half-time. I'm not making excuses for them, but if we want them to improve, they probably need to play against players who are even at a higher level.
The Irish picking up the losers' medals from Richard Lewis, who is the chairman of the Rugby League European Federation and, of course, executive chairman of the Rugby Football League here. And there's Barry McDermott, big smile on his face, and why shouldn't he have? a great performance from the Irish in the second half. They deserve their medal, Steve-O. They have graced this final, to be fair to them.
Yeah, they certainly have, and full credit to them. And I think that perhaps the English boys will realise that, you know, there's nothing easy in rugby league. You know, they raced to a 24-0. They worked hard. They had control of the game. But I think they've come out of this with a bitter lesson, in as much that, you know, you can't expect the opposition in rugby league anywhere at what standard, and a proud moment for him.
Yes, Rob Parker. Rob Parker, the captain, hands it on to the man of the match. They've won the trophy, but as I say, Carl Harrison's men maybe have not won the hearts of everybody.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the liquid, whatever it is that they poured into that trophy, perhaps not as sweet as what it should be, but they will learn from it. And that's the whole exercise that we're talking about. You know, a lot of people say, why did we have Great Britain yesterday and we've got England today? We often criticise them and say they're never given the opportunity for youngsters. This is a golden opportunity. And I think a lot of these players, especially the English, they will go and have a look at themselves in the mirror tomorrow and say, you know, there's a possibility that I've still got a long way to go.
It's interesting, Steve, that there are players from 8 different clubs that have formed that England side today, and that, I think, is a further improvement not only of our international prospects but of the quality of the game in this club, in this country. We've got players now from more clubs competing, and maybe also learning, passing ideas, an exchange of information. That's got to be good for their development next season as well. They're not just at the top 2 or 3 clubs anymore.
I agree with you there, Phil, because mostly on regards to, you know, these homebred Irish people that have been involved in this game, they will go back, they will tell all their relatives, they will tell all their fans, and say, look, we have the opportunity. I mean, you know, for nearly 60 minutes, this Irish side took England apart, and they surprised them. They were tougher, they were more organised. First 30 minutes, it looked as though it was going to be a whitewash. And I think maybe, you know, they just stood back and expected them to collapse, and Ireland didn't.
They didn't, and England have won the trophy. They are the European Nations Cup final winners. But will some of those players, do you think, look in the mirror tonight and think that they have blown a big opportunity here?
Yeah, I think they will. I think a lot of them. But, you know, there was some quality out there. Let's not forget about the, you know, the way that they advanced. I thought Robinson was very, very good. Burrow was busy, working hard. But the full-back, I thought Riley was absolutely superb. He worked hard, and he was one of the most dangerous players on the field of play.
They came out today to win the trophy, and ultimately they've done that. But the challenge, what I think, was not just to win the trophy, but to put in a performance as well. And maybe that's what was lacking. They won the trophy, and to that extent they succeeded. But the ultimate performance, that might have been missing to an extent, and that's where I think Ireland can take positives from and take it.
Right, well, that's our view here in the studio. Let's hear the view of the England coach, Carl Harrison, now with Chris.
Well, Carl, congratulations. Not the prettiest of results, but the champagne corks are popping over your shoulder there. A win's a win. You must be pleased.
Absolutely, you know, we've done it tough, and all week we've done it tough. We've had about 5 or 6 guys who were ill. We lost John Wilkins in the first group with a broken hand, and has been quite instrumental throughout our 3 games. But I'm really, really pleased with the guys. We've worked tough and came through with, and then with the result we required.
You said at half-time you wanted to get back to basics. You said your own words, return to the script and the points will come. I guess there was a bit too much spilt ball in the second half for that to happen.
Yeah, a lot of infringement at the play of the ball. I thought the ruck speed was very, very slow today. Maybe they interpret, you know, with the French referee, the 10 metres went probably 10 metres, and the ruck speed was very, very slow, but it's good for developing in our nations. That's what this competition is about.
I think a few people had trouble understanding the referee, but that's another story altogether. The game is certainly in good health at the moment. Which of your guys out of this team do you think knocking on the door of Great Britain?
Obviously, you know, people like Briscoe's had a good season. Paul Riley today on his showing, sensational. And Mark Calderwood and Gareth Rayner have been really, really good. And I think we're struggling at the top level in the outside backs, and them 4 guys should be knocking on the door.
Well, one of those 4 guys is right here with us, and Paul, man of the match performance. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Oh, I'm over the moon. First of all, to be, you know, a member of the England squad. My age, I thought we were all over, but you know, I'm as well having 3 members in the squad. I think it just shows how much as a club we've improved.
How much did it help you guys training with the Great Britain team on Wednesday this week?
Yeah, it did. I think there were a buzz around the place. At first, I thought, you know, all those England ones were, you know, like an academy side, quiet and that, but we got into it, and, you know, it helped us, and I'm sure it helped Briscoe is a really good player. He's scored some tries this year, and he's also got young player of the season. You know, I got a chance to play today, and I scored 2 tries, and I'm just happy with my own performance.
Paul Riley, man of the match, well done.